A warning to our more sensitive viewers.
Ladies, gentlemen, it's that time again. Yep. And I made a nice long ass video, so I don't have to ramble or, get off topic because this is going to be a big one. I often spoke about the femicides that occurred specifically in the South Asian, Arabian, specifically around like the Persian, Pakistani, Punjabi, Afghan, like diaspora of like countries. And those are the ones that I know of locally. I don't think it's like isolated to those territories, but like because of the influx of people who come from those locations, we know about these crimes. Like it's just all too often that it has occurred and taken part in by these individuals of these backgrounds, ethnicities, etc., etc. Like not too recently, there's this headline news. It's like it's pretty significant. There's this guy, I think he's like 23, 25 or something. Looks way older. He's like some like Packy, and he apparently sexually assaulted a bunch of people with autism that he's like supposed to be helping out because he's like a teacher aide or something like that, like a mental aid counselor or something like that. And the news doesn't even want to say it because of how like morbid it is, so they're just saying like he assaulted them. And I'm just like with a weapon too. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. This is getting old. Like, playing this game of pretend. Like, guess who? Guess what they did? Guess the severity of the crime. Guess the ethnicity, the background, the motivation, guess the victim. You don't have to guess the victim, it was kids. But girls, in specificity, most likely. But, like, they don't want to admit it. They don't want to say it. I mean, I understand, like, nobody wants their kids or the information that their kids are potentially abused, right, to get out there, and then their peers or their classmates, find out about it. And it becomes like a endless thing for them, so they have to live through this turmoil, right? And I just find that very odd that like the news is just going out of its way to like show this guy's face, show his age, and then like the crime that he did is just like it's kind of glossed over. It's like, okay, he did an assault and he did it against like children, vulnerable people, but like you won't specifically say what kind of assault. Oh no. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm like one of those guys, right, that gets like, caught up in those internet cycles. And one of those internet cycles just happens to be Paul Joseph Watson. Now I have to admit, like, okay, having like a West Indies background, he kind of like styles on the Carnival Festival a little too hard. Although, to be fair, like sometimes they take it a little too far. I know like a lot of people don't want me to say that, but like they're just they're having a little bit too much fun. Taking it too seriously. I think it was like at one point like that was like the major thing. It's like you didn't have any crime until like you had Caravan, and then you had enough people drinking or whatever, and then like something would happen with like people from this part of the world versus people from that part of the world. Something like nonsense. But we have to talk about the imported femicide, because you know what? As bad as the West Indies people are and all that stuff, they're so loud and obnoxious and this and that. At least they don't go around randomly punching girls. Oh no. So in this random video, dude, oh my god. Can you imagine? Like, and I spoke about this at length, right? You get off a boat, right? Or you finish paying like your people smugglers and shit, and it's like a significant amount of money, unless like you're in on it, so like you're a human smuggler yourself, or like you're friends with these people, like you're going to be paying upwards of like several thousands of pounds, right? So I don't know how much does that translate to Canadian dollars. It's like an annual salary. I'm just joking, but like still, like it's probably close to that. And then like afterwards, you're in this country, you gotta fucking take a shower, you're gonna have to hop on benefits and shit. Like, they tell you don't feel ashamed because it's like, I think the Muslims know deep down inside about the whole Jewish hustle. about how like everybody's getting fleeced to pay for these. I think there's both. It's both the Hasidic and the Orthodox. Although I did know some Orthodox Jewish guys back in Baptist and Steels. They're pretty good people, man. I don't know too much about the Hasidic Jews though, and like the fact that like we're all paying out of our the taxpayer dollars just to like give birth to like basically a dozen plus kids in one family. I'm like, that's a miracle for them. Like, I'm happy for them if they're paying for their own kids, which they're not, right? And then like you ask, why are these guys like flooding in the country? It's mostly just mans and shit too, eh? Like they're not coming with their women, right? So then they come here thinking that like it's owed to them, like our the enemy of Muhammad, right? I'm guessing like the Jews are the enemy of Muhammad are receiving benefits and welfare. They're like giving it to their children, their concubines. Like these people are soft. They deserve to be conquered. Blah blah blah. Right? And it's not working out for them because unlike some other Muslims who probably got like a bride, ISIS bride back in their own country or just found her some other means, you're one of the ones that are left out without one, right? And then year after year, because you got to understand, like this has happened pretty recently, right? So, um, 20th, sometime after Valentine's Day. Can you imagine how cheese this motherfucker is? Just like randomly like take this guy, this Packy guy, right? Takes his elbow and just like fucking clotheslines this girl in the fucking eye socket, like breaks her orbital bone and shit just for nothing. Cause he's just a lonely ass fucking Packy. He can't like rape fucking white girls and shit. Motherfucker's talking about re-immigration. This is what I was talking about. This fucking subhuman trash. You fucking thought, right? We all did. You all fucking thought that these people were human beings, that they had souls, that they had honor, dignity, nobility. You know what I mean? Common sense. This guy's nothing. And then you have like tons of these fuckers in the country raping up kids, randomly attacking girls and shit. Some other guy randomly like gets in like the face of all these people and shit and just like randomly attacks. I just had to stop watching the video because I understand that like Paul Joseph Watson, he's like British white dude, and he kind of gets on that race baiting bandwagon. And being like a dark skin color guy like me, like I'm not just gonna be about that. Like I can understand, like these people are in your country, and I understand that like they don't want to fit in, and there's religious differences and this and that. But like, sometimes I gotta admit it. Like I don't think I'm going to fit in with the whole like I'm probably talking out my ass. They'll probably accept me, but I'm just like I don't feel safe 100% with the other side either. You know what I mean? But I only say that because you got to speak out about shit like this. They're going to lump you in with people like this. This is how they operate. They get in your country, they swarm, they like fucking form huge ass friend groups, grooming gangs, entire like networks of people to spy on you and to watch you, to like molest children and shit, other people's children. It's always about that, and you have to remember that like when it came down to it, I would always like bring this up and all the adults would just like pass it. They'll be like, nah, you're just paranoid, you don't have any evidence and blah blah blah, right? It was because of their cowardice that this shit has gotten as bad as it has. It's their fault. They are to partially be to blame. Like the cowardice of people shouldn't be excused as like, oh well, they couldn't do anything or this or that after a while because it was convenient for you to say that because it wasn't around when you had your kids, and now it's around when everybody has their kids, and it's not going to go away. Like this problem that the UK is experiencing, like this is why I said they need like more manpower. They need more people to kick these fuckers out of the country. Like it's going to be a bloody ass civil war where you're going to have to, you're gonna have to kill them. Like they're not gonna want to leave, voluntarily. So they're gonna be like dragging, their fingernails into the floorboards as you're like pulling them out of the country because it's like they don't want to go back to gay sex, but they have to. Like they're kind of remiss of grace. They're the actions that they have partaken in their home countries and stuff, molesting little boys, little kids, little girls, just coming here with no background checks or any, form of checks or balances. The fact that we take these people into these countries, like not just Canada or the UK, just any country in general. I'm just watching this other one by Tal Oran. By the way, like not all Jews are bad. Check out your homie Tal, man. The Arabic. I don't think he's. I think he's Sephardi or something like that. I forget what it was. It was like some kind of like Arabic Jew or something like that, and he got like kicked out. He was like, "Oh shit, man! They're kicking me out of the country. Now I know how my forefathers felt." Or he's like, "Here, the sweet colonizing prince," as he calls himself. By the way, I'm not affiliated with this guy. I say a lot of like, racist off the wall type shit. Tal's a good man. He always keeps it, 100. And like, again, a disclaimer, because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, I support the state of Israel." I didn't get my, what was it, 7,000? Dog, that's a fucking, a handsome amount of money, especially considering like it's most likely an American. So like, you can translate to Canadian dollars. It's like, oh my god, I got like, oh my god, so much money. But like, he's talking about how in response to all this, like, basically incel aggression against women, the femicide, like the reason why femicide happened in their country to begin with, like, we want to like question like the origin of the grooming gangs, the incel movement. The, like, when I say incel movement, I'm not gonna talk about the local one where it's a bunch of people on like I think message boards that are just like talking about their lonely ass shit and like, maybe saying like, "Oh, these people need to die, these voids and shit," and like making up stupid ass words and stuff. No, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the kind of movement that like reaches that line, right? The line of, I call it the point of no return, where you've been alone so long, but like you can't differentiate between love and like having sex. So it's like your brain is so fucking warped that it's like, because you didn't get it or you're not getting it, you have to go out and kill people. And that's what these men like all have in common. The terrorists have it in common. These lonely guys who are like in the country like non-stop, and like, they just can't find anybody. You can only imagine, right? This happens after I'm sorry, Halloween. I gotta stop doing that. Halloween all the time with me. Damn it, I gotta get off of Instagram. The girls are so hot, I can't help it. But like, fuck, what was I talking about again? But no, yeah. So like Valentine's Day, right? So it's like pretty much less than a week after Valentine's Day, and I could be wrong. Like, this is like a video from Paul Joseph Watson. I don't really feel like linking the whatever, because it's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna be going like a year plus in this YouTube career thing of mine, and there's certain things that I don't feel comfortable doing, and it's just like, like there's certain people I will not endorse, and it's not anything personal. It's just more or less I'm just going to use them as a source of news because I find their views to be controversial, and it's nothing to do, like, it's not personal. It's just that I think that if, like, me of all people were to say that, like, okay, I'm 100% hyper on the right wing, like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, not just because of my appearance and shit, but because we're finding out right now that the right wing have been infiltrated by like the Tate, pro male sexual assault, I guess ideology, if you will. Their brand of red pill is more or less softballing the reintroduction of post-industrial marriage life, where you have like guys who were the breadwinners, the main earners in the house, and then the women who are just basically subservient, like, servants who just housewives, care for the children, etc. Classically, you wouldn't see them, working a job, and then like inevitably you'd have like the violence that comes towards them to be downplayed because it's like, oh, you don't pay the bills, Everything in the household is like, supplied for and paid for by the male. And that's that kind of level of misogyny that these guys want around because it just works for them. The fact that like they don't have the ability to argue with somebody because there's no arguments. It's just servant. You have a servant, right? Like the way the guy made his money was with webcam. He's making girls, basically forcing them to take their clothes off for guys to give money online so that he gets it. Like this is parasitism 101, right? And the idea that like he's like, you know, going shoulder to shoulder, buddy buddy with Clavicle and shit. And it's kind of funny too. Like Clavicle had this like thing, and it's funny how I bring up Valentine's Day, right? So there was this video circulating around of Clavicle, some girl, and this other guy, and I think they're in a bar. I'm not sure. And the guy, and it's his birthday. He's a little bit drunk, and he's been talking to this lady, this girl, and apparently, whatever. Like he wants to something, dance with her, get her number, this and that. She doesn't like him, and then is like talking to Clavicle, or Clavicle's like mogging him. It's just a stupid vocabulary of these incels and shit. Motherfucker out here pretending like he's a man. Motherfucker, you gotta inject your fucking dick to get it out. What the fuck is that? And you're stealing somebody's girl on his birthday. But like, to be fair, sometimes girls who are like that aren't necessarily worth the trouble, because it's like if they are like literally that heartless and they have no respect for you in that regard, like you're what are you trying to salvage from that? Like you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get much from trying to convince someone who's that hollow and barren that they're wrong in their assessment. My personal opinion, but like I can still see how like this would piss a lot of guys off, right? But like the whole juxtaposition about how you have like this guy, I think he's actually British. I think the guy was British too. So the irony is even like meta level, because they came out with that I think it was a YouTube video or some shit like that, or a PSA in the UK, where it's like this white guy and he's just like he's into the violence against the women. He's a misogynist, but it was actually based on this other guy, but they changed the ethnicity to like some like little white dude. Just to style out white people even more. The self-cuckadry hatred of your fucking homosexual like boy lover Keir Starmer, who like had his house like attempted 5 or 6 no, I think he was like 5 gay little, and they were young men too. That's the thing I left out in my last one. Like I actually looked up on it. They're like young ass men and shit. These are like some sick, disgusting, twisted ass politicians that you got over there in the UK. He was like, what the fuck, dude? What kind of fucking retard did they elect? I thought Mark Carney was bad. Like he's cringe, but I don't think he's like he's fucked up like that, man. You know what I mean? Oh, what the fuck was I talking about? This shit's bullshit. Yeah, so they had that like that basic propaganda hit piece to demonize the local population and young white men, because they're somehow the problem. And this is the onset of your fucking femicide problem. First, it starts with the absolute and utter denial. And like, I'm not trying to say, okay, I'm not trying to downplay it, okay? I'm just trying to say, from a Canadian perspective, we got some guy over here, and he potentially did the exact same. Well, no, he didn't do the. It's not striking people. And this is just like one example. There's obviously like many, many, many more, right? But I'm just going to point to these two, the one in Canada and the one that, Paul Joseph Watson has pointed out, and at least initially in the video. I'm not going to watch this entire fucking video. But like, what I'm getting at is, the femicide problem that has existed from these what I would call radical incels, okay? Like, I think inceldom is a natural state, because it's like virginity is a natural state, right? But once you start crossing over into the whole, hate posting, and then you start, stalking out, and then you have, outwardly violent thoughts. Like, there's these videos going around of these guys filming, like, other people's dogs and stuff and saying that, like, these are, like, unclean creatures and they gotta go and this and that. They gotta be banned. They're, like, offending me and shit. These, like, this isn't gonna go away. Like, these are violent, very idiotic, inbred, retards that cannot comprehend the level of depravity that they're partaking in, and they're trying to boil the water to see if you're gonna jump out. Because if you don't, you're just gonna get boiled alive. Because they're just not gonna stop with this. They're just gonna keep going on and on and on. And then the inevitability of that is, like, not only the powerless nature of your men to stop it, because it's like, it isn't just he feels, this guy in the UK who just, like, elbowed this woman, clotheslined her in the nose, like, in the eye socket, actually. So, like, and her friend was, like, right there, so she just, like, basically gets planted on the ground, unconscious. Her friend's just, like, screaming and, like, calling for help and stuff, and this guy's roaching out. He's, like, leaving. I got that saying off of As and Gold. So Roach just roached out. Like, he does it and he leaves like he does, like nothing happened. Like, he just, like, walked by and, like, he just, like, yawned or, like, stretched his arm and, like, oops, I made a mistake. And he fucking full on put his body into it and everything, like a fucking incel, pedophile, homosexual, child rapist. Fuck, man. Like, yo, what the fuck did you let in the country? What the fuck did you let in the country? Could you imagine? Mans be going to school, studying to be doctors, lawyers, scientists, counselors, only for them to wait for the right time to fucking sexually assault a little kid. And it's just like, what? You waste all that money, and then, wait a minute. Doesn't that actually sound kind of fucking ridiculous when you say it out loud? And then you realize the whole depletion of, like, the healthcare system and this and that. We've heard, like, whispers here and there about people faking their credentials, and now that we know that, like, there's people out there who just, like, fucking hate you, dude. Like, is that too far-fetched? Is it too far-fetched to think that, like, this idea behind re-immigration, behind the whole idea of stigmatizing groups of people for your own good, by the way, right, is a bad thing? Is it really, though? Like, the older generations who basically put this on you, they're not as profitable as us. I did the going rate, right, of the VTuber avatars and the rigging, and if you combine them both together, it's about 1,500 to 3 if you're good enough. Now, explain, like, what would you have to do back in those times to make that kind of money? I'm guessing game the stock market, insider trading, sell something valuable, I guess sell exotic items like, international Persian rugs, chandeliers, something of, like, high amounts of volume and value to signify that amount of monetary gain. But then you realize that no, there is no equalizer, there is no equivalent. We've overstepped the older generation to such a frightening degree that they can't bypass us. So these people, these cheap labor that they've, basically spewed into the country, and and other people with, oh, we got doctors and lawyers from around the world, no, questionable backgrounds. We didn't do the proper channels, like check the proper, educational institutions, we just didn't do that. And now we're seeing, like, the holification of our way of life, and we understand all too well that the femicide problem isn't going to go away. And the best way to get around it is to honestly, like, just go for all the women that you want, man. Hey, man, this is just what they need. You're good for the race. At this point, who's gonna question you? I mean, who am I to question you? And who are you to question me? It's all fair in love and war. All right, take care.